In this podcast episode, whistleblower Frances Haugen discusses her experience working at Facebook and the major problems she uncovered within the company. During the podcast, Haugen discusses the negative impact that Facebook has on mental health. She highlights the fact that Facebook's algorithm prioritizes content that generates engagement, which often includes controversial or inflammatory posts. Haugen explains that if someone starts a fight in a post, it will receive more distribution than a calm response. This creates a toxic environment where conflict and negativity are rewarded, leading to increased stress and anxiety for users. Haugen also points out that excessive use of social media, particularly by children, is linked to higher rates of depression and anxiety. She states that if a child uses social media for more than 3 hours a day, they are at double or triple the risk of developing these mental health issues. Considering that the average kid in the United States spends around 3.5 hours on social media daily, this is a significant concern. Haugen criticizes Facebook for its lack of transparency and accountability. She argues that the company operates in an echo chamber, with Mark Zuckerberg as its own boss. She states that users are not treated as citizens on social platforms but rather as subjects of a king. Haugen believes that Facebook should be more open about its content moderation practices and provide users with visibility into what posts are being taken down and why. Furthermore, Haugen discusses how Facebook's focus on content moderation rather than making the platform safer by default creates additional challenges. She explains that when the emphasis is on content moderation, the systems need to be rewritten for each language and region, which is not scalable. Haugen suggests that Facebook should prioritize safety features such as requiring users to click on a link before resharing it or limiting the number of reshare chains to reduce the spread of misinformation. Haugen reveals that Facebook dissolved its civic integrity team shortly after the 2020 U.S. election. This team was responsible for addressing issues related to misinformation and ensuring the integrity of the platform during elections. Haugen believes that the dissolution of this team was a significant turning point for her, as it signaled that Facebook was not committed to addressing its problems. She explains that the team had been growing and making progress, but as it accumulated more documentation of the company's problems, it became a liability. Facebook was not willing to address these issues, and the dissolution of the team was a way to avoid accountability. Haugen's experience with the dissolution of the civic integrity team led her to realize that Facebook could not heal itself, and she decided to become a whistleblower. Haugen discusses Mark Zuckerberg's control and influence over Facebook. She reveals that Zuckerberg controls the majority of voting shares, which gives him unilateral control over the company. This means that even if there are calls for change or accountability from other stakeholders, Zuckerberg's control supersedes them. Haugen criticizes the lack of checks and balances within Facebook due to Zuckerberg's control. She compares it to other companies like Microsoft, where separating the roles of chairman of the board and CEO led to more responsible decision-making. In Facebook's case, there is no objective feedback or pushback against Zuckerberg's decisions, which hinders the company's ability to address its problems effectively. Haugen discusses Facebook's culpability in the events that led to the January 6 Capitol riots. She explains that Facebook's fear leading up to the 2020 election was that there would be violence in the United States. However, when the election passed without major incidents, Facebook believed that the situation was resolved. This led to a lack of preparedness for the events of January 6. Haugen argues that Facebook could have taken steps to prevent or mitigate the violence by turning on safety systems that were previously in place for the election. One of the key revelations from Haugen's disclosures is the impact of Instagram on teenage girls' mental health. Haugen explains that Facebook made changes to its algorithm in 2018 to prioritize content that would elicit strong reactions from users. This led to the proliferation of extreme and harmful content on the platform. Haugen argues that this algorithmic change had a detrimental effect on teenage girls, who were exposed to harmful body image content and experienced negative impacts on their mental health. She believes that Facebook should take responsibility for the harm caused by its platform. Haugen discusses the tools available to combat misinformation and violence on social media platforms. She mentions content moderators as one tool, but highlights the limitations of relying solely on human moderation. Haugen also emphasizes the importance of toggling the algorithm to prioritize content that users have consented to, rather than promoting extreme and harmful content. Additionally, she suggests that intentional choices in product design can help mitigate the spread of misinformation and violence. Haugen emphasizes the need for transparency and accountability in tech companies. She argues that current laws require companies to report their profit and loss, but not the consequences of their products. Haugen believes that there should be baseline transparency requirements for tech companies, particularly in areas such as children's mental health and the spread of harmful content. She suggests that laws should be passed to enable greater transparency and accountability, allowing for public discussion and informed decision-making. Haugen also mentions that there are documents within Facebook that discuss the presence of cartels and terrorist organizations operating on the platform. She highlights the need for effective systems to detect and remove such content to ensure the safety of users. Haugen's comments suggest that Facebook's current systems may not be adequately addressing these issues, and there is a need for more robust measures to combat the presence of cartels and terrorism on the platform. Haugen discusses how Facebook's censorship systems operate and how they handle counter-terrorism content. She mentions that there are documents criticizing the fact that the policy team at Facebook has intervened to protect the speech of certain political actors. This suggests that Facebook's policies may not be consistently applied and that there may be biases in the way content is moderated. Haugen emphasizes the need for transparency and accountability in these systems to ensure that they are fair and effective in combating harmful content. Throughout the podcast, Haugen emphasizes the need for transparency and accountability in social media platforms like Facebook. She argues that the public should have the right to see how these systems work and understand the algorithms and policies that govern content distribution. Haugen suggests that transparency can be achieved through legislation, such as the Digital Services Act, which requires platforms to disclose information about the risks associated with their services and their plans for reducing those risks. She believes that transparency is crucial for ensuring that social media platforms operate in the best interest of users and society as a whole. Haugen also discusses the importance of individual agency and engagement in addressing the issues surrounding social media. She encourages people to believe that change is possible and to value their own dignity and autonomy. Haugen suggests that individuals should have the right to reset algorithms, allowing them to have more control over the content they are exposed to. She also highlights the need for better tools and options for users, especially young people, who may be vulnerable to the negative effects of social media. Haugen believes that social media companies have created a false dichotomy between extremes, and that there is a need for a happy medium in terms of user experience. She suggests that social media platforms should be designed to put control back in the hands of users. Haugen also advocates for making the invisible patterns of social media more visible. She acknowledges that these steps alone are not enough, and that companies should also be held responsible for the social costs they impose. However, she believes that these steps are a good starting point. Haugen emphasizes the importance of taking care of others in the context of social media. She suggests that until social media becomes safer, individuals should take it upon themselves to care for their friends and family. She encourages people to have conversations with their loved ones about how they use social media and to be aware of the potential negative effects it can have on mental health. Haugen poses the question of how one would feel if they found out that a friend had died because they were consumed by negative content on social media. She suggests redefining the rituals of caring by actively engaging with others and discussing their social media usage. Haugen discusses the importance of educating young people about social media and its impact. She suggests creating a simulated social network where students can learn about network effects and the choices involved in using social media platforms. Haugen believes that exposing young people to the process of journalism and teaching them about the business models and algorithms behind social media can empower them to make informed decisions. She also emphasizes the need for community governance, where young people can learn about social skills and mentorship in order to create a more positive and responsible online environment. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.